Welcome to This is Bluegrass. Good afternoon on this Saturday, January 31st, 2026. Yours truly, Daniel B. here to host today's event. And with the rest of the country being as cold as it is, I hope it's cold or warmer in your area. I know here in Florida it's not. So Guitar for Vets CAVARTS is proud to bring this event featuring our very own Guitar for Vets CAVARTS cyber instructor and instrument builder, Danny Smith. Danny, a retired Army Master Sergeant, has graduated 5 veterans so far from the G4V Cyber Chapter guitar program. Also, Danny has built his own mandolins, which are beautiful. He built a guitar and recently a classic dobro. If you wish to hear and see Danny playing those instruments, go to his YouTube channel, Danny Smith Music. So down to why we are here today. Danny's going to be giving us a breakdown on the Bluegrass standard Old Joe Clark. And at the end, we'll have questions and comments. So, Danny, I'm going to hand it off to you, my friend.
All right. Is it going to stay? I'm going to stay pinned right here, right?
You should be up.
All right. All right. Well, hello, everybody. I'm glad to see you guys here. And again, I went through the Guitars for Vets program, I think 4 years ago. And I practice about 2 hours a day, every day. And really into bluegrass and old country. And today we're going to cover the bluegrass standard Old Joe Clark. Old Joe Clark is a fiddle tune that's played quite often around bluegrass jams throughout the country. And many artists have recorded it. The Kingston Trio recorded Old Joe Clark. Sam Bush recorded it with Newgrass Revival. Doc Watson, if you know who Doc Watson is, he's a big name in old time and bluegrass and even in blues. Doc Watson was a blind guitar player and probably one of the most well-known names for guitar players in bluegrass music. Tony Rice recorded it, Brian Sutton recently. Jake Workman with Ricky Skaggs. So many people have recorded Old Joe Clark. So Old Joe Clark is typically played in the key of A, and it's geared towards fiddlers. So playing in the key of A for a fiddler is a lot easier than playing in the key of B flat or the key of F or any of those other keys. So it's played out of the key of A. Most guitar players will capo to the 2nd fret and play it out of the G position. Today we'll learn it in the G position out of the key of G. And if you want to play this in a jam with other people and you want to play it in the key of A, you'd simply put your capo on the 2nd fret and play out of the G position using the capo as the nut, the starting fret of your guitar. So has anybody played bluegrass music before? If you have, raise your hand. I can see everybody in here. And if you haven't played bluegrass, everybody here understands the basic chords. There's 3 chords that we need for this song. We need the G chord, the D major chord, and the F major chord. So what I'll do is I'll play one round of Old Joe Clark. I'll play it with the lyrics. I'll try to sing, but Old Joe Clark has lyrics, and there's hundreds of verses. And when I say that, I literally mean hundreds of verses. There's so many different versions. It's been used as a kid's tune. There's humorous lyrics. but there's so many. So I'm just going to do one verse and one chorus of Old Joe Clark to give you what the melody sounds like. And it sounds something like this. Old Joe Clark, he had a house 15 stories high. Every story in that house was filled with chicken pie. Fare thee well, Old Joe Clark, fare thee well, I say. Fare thee well, Old Joe Clark, I'm a-going away. So that's the verse and the chorus of Old Joe Clark. When it's played as a fiddle tune, it's played with, they call it an AABB format. So there's 2 A parts and 2 B parts. The A part would be in a normal song would be the verse, and the B part would be the chorus. So when you play it as a fiddle tune where there's no singing, it's going to be played two verses, 2 choruses, and that's how the melody will break down. So what I'd like to do is go over the boom chuck rhythm. Has anybody played the blue chuck rhythm before? The boom chuck? So we got a... And what I'm doing is I'm playing the 1 and the 5 of the scale, or the G and the D. And I'm playing it with a downstroke. Down, strum, down, strum. And when you count that out, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So everybody try that. You're going to strum 1, strum 2, strum. And if you don't have the accuracy yet, it's something that can be difficult to get that strum between the 1 and the 5. You can just do the 1. You can go. But you're always going to do a boom on the 1 and the 3 and a strum on the 2 and the 4. And we're going to count this in just standard 4/4 time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to change the chord. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're changing right back to the G chord again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So your first chord, your first time through the A part, you'll have 3 measures of the G chord, which is the 1 chord, and you'll have 1 measure of the D chord, which is the 5 chord. And so when I say the 1 and 5, everybody's heard of the Nashville number system? So the way the Nashville number system works is in the key that you're playing in, the key center, which in this case is G, you're going to use the scale G, A, B, C, D, E, F, sharp, G. That's going to be your scale. And to break down the chords, you're going to use those same numbers in the scale, G, A, B, C. So C would be a 4 chord, D would be the 5 chord. And this song in the verse uses the 1 and the 5. So that's a G and a D. And if a fiddler was playing this in the key of A, they would be using an A, and then for the G, and then the D would be an E. And that's how the Nashville number system works. So if you're playing out of the key center of G, and the fiddlers are playing in the key center of A, you can't tell them to play a G chord because they're actually playing an A chord. Does that make sense to everybody? So that's why the Nashville number system is really beneficial when you're dealing in, especially in a jam environment where everybody is playing out of a different key center. Now, when I say a key center, we're using the G key center, even though if we capo 2, we're playing in the key of A. We're using G as the center of our scalular playing. We're using that G shape. So again, the A part, and if everybody's seen, I'm going to pull up real quick here. So if you look here, the A part is going to have 3 measures of G, 1 measure of D, 2 measures of G, and then a split bar. So a split bar would be counted 1, 2, change the chord, 3, 4. So let's go through. I want you everybody to take a look at this real quick. G, 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 D, G, G, split bar, G, D, and then back to the one chord, which is G. So I'm going to stop this share, and we're going to go back to, we'll go through one verse, and I'll count it out. We'll play it fairly slow, about 50, 55 beats a minute, and it'll sound like this. 1, all right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, change. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, change. 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Does that make sense? It's if I'm just rambling, unmute your mic if you got a question and ask me a question. I'm just going to keep going and talking about this and leading you through it. So we're going to go back and we'll play through it one more time. I'll try to count this a little slower. And if you're going to do just your one, that's fine. If you want to alternate 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, 5. Now when you play that D chord, your 1 is your D, that's your open D string, and your 5 is your A string, your open A string. So that's your 1 and your 5 in your D chord. So let's go through this again one more time, nice and slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Did everybody get that change to that split bar? That split bar is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Does that make sense? All right. So that is the A part. Now, when you're playing this song in a jam setting, you're going to play the A part twice. After you complete the A part twice, you're going to go into the B part. Now, the B part has the same layout, three verses of G, and then now we're going to add in the 7 chord, which is the F chord. That's going to take the place of the D the first time, and then the second time through, it's that same G-D split bar. And so your B part would sound like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. F. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's how the B part's going to break down. The only thing that changes when you go to this B part is you're going to an F chord the first time instead of a D chord. And everything else stays the exact same. So are there any questions on this A and B part of Old Joe Clark? So let's go through this one time, and we'll do two bars or two A parts and two B parts. And I'll count them out. And this time I'll try to count it out. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 3, 4, change 2, 3, 4. And that way you'll know when you're changing. So let's do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. D, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, D, 2, G, 2, 3, 4. One more time. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. D, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, D, 2, G, 2, 3, 4. B part. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 2, 3, 4. F, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, D, 2, G, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so real quick, I forgot to mention this. When you're playing the F chord, there's a couple ways to play the F chord. You probably learned the F is a bar chord. I like to play my F chord, and this is just for me. If you're used to playing that bar chord, that's fine. But I'll play my F chord here. I'll just bar the bottom two. I will leave this open E out of the picture by putting my thumb just touching it. And now to play that 1 and that 5, you got your F and your C is your 5. Or you can play this. Does that make sense to everybody? And you can see what I'm doing there, right? So I'm playing my F chord. I can also just play this. And that's the way I tend to play it, because it gives me the option to add, if I wanted to put a 7 in there, I can use my pinky down here to play that 7 chord of the F. So however you play your F chord is fine. You can play that bar F. And that works out just fine. All right, so any questions on the chord structure of the song? Any questions on the rhythm of the song? Everybody understand the three measures of G, 1 measure of D, or 3 measures of the 1 chord, 1 measure of the 5 chord, 2 measures of the 1 chord, a split bar of the 1 and the 5, and then back to the 1 chord. That is the breakdown of the first A part. And you'll do that twice. And then the B part is exactly the same, the F chord taking the place of the 5 chord, or the 7 chord taking the place of the 5 chord, the first half of the measure each time. Any questions on that? All right. So is anybody having any trouble? Yes.
Can you go over the split bar again?
Yes, the split. Can you let me mute your mic because I'm getting some feedback. There we go. Okay, so when you do the split bar, every measure has four, in 4/4 time, every measure is going to have 4 beats. So when you count it, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're counting in eighth notes, it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. If you're counting in 16th notes, it's 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. It all, no matter how you count it, it breaks down to 4 downbeats in that measure. And that would be considered 4/4 time. So the way the split bar works is half of that measure is one chord, and the other half of that measure is another chord. And in this case, it's the G chord or the 1 chord and the D chord, the 5 chord. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and now we're into another measure when I go back to that G. Does that answer it for you, Tom? Perfect. All right. So is anybody having any trouble with muted strings when they're strumming? Anybody having trouble keeping the timing? I'm gonna assume that with no response that there's no issues here. So there's a couple things you can do if you're beyond that beginner or just even. You can add some upstrokes. And you can add those upstrokes. You have to change your count to that 1 E and or a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a. You see what I'm doing? Everything is the same. I'm just adding a little more hand movement to give me some additional strums, and I'm adding going from a 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm doing a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and or a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. And all that's doing is just changing the amount of notes that I'm putting into that 4/4 time. I'm either doing 4 notes, 8 notes, or 16 notes. Does that break that down pretty clear? All right. So let's move on to the meat of a fiddle tune. And when it comes to fiddle tunes, they have a melody, just like a song. You know, when you're singing, "Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by?" It has a melody. Old Joe Clark has a melody. Old Joe Clark, he had a house 15 stories high. Every story in that house was filled with apple pie. Whatever the verse is, that melody is what you're going to play. So I would say 99% of songs in the bluegrass realm play out of the major scale. And there might be different modes in that major scale. Does everybody understand the G scale? Who doesn't know their G scale? If you don't know your G scale, open your mic and say, "I don't know it yet." Everybody knows their G scale? Okay, so let's go through the G scale real quick. There's 8 notes, 7 notes, and the root is played twice. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. That's 1 octave of the G major scale. Now, Old Joe Clark, because it has a 7 chord in it, it becomes what we call a mode, in the scale. And the Mixolydian mode, is one of the modes. I think there's 7 modes. The Mixolydian mode is a mode that gives it a minor sound. And so, you know, when you're playing your scale, that sounds really majory, right? Now listen to this. It kind of gives it that minor sound, right? Because I'm taking my 7 and it's a sharp, and I'm dropping that to the natural F. And that's called Mixolydian mode. And what Mixolydian mode, the easiest way for me to break down Mixolydian mode is to tell you it is the C scale started on G. And so if you know your C scale, that's my C scale. My G scale is, instead of here, that F, I'm playing an F sharp. But if I want to play this in Mixolydian mode, I'm just going to drop that F sharp to the natural F. The easiest way to play it is to think, I'm going to play my C scale, but all of my F sharps are going to be Fs. So that is my G Mixolydian scale. And that is what Joe Clark is, the melody of Joe Clark is based out of. So when you hear this, if I was to play that in the G scale, this is what it would sound like. Doesn't sound right. That's my melody for Old Joe Clark. So let's break this down. With Old Joe Clark, we understand that we're playing the G scale, or the Mixolydian mode of the G scale. The C scale starting in G, there's so many ways you can say this. You just have to remember one note is different. So let's start off with, we're going to play this in the upper octave first, and then I'm going to show you how to figure this out in the lower octave. So we're going to start off with it. Most songs in Western music, the melody will start on either the 1, the 5, or the 1, the 3, or the 5 of the scale. So what does that mean? The 1 note is the G in the G scale. Can anybody tell me what the 3 note in the G scale would be? What the third note of the G scale would be? Anybody? Nobody, huh?
B.
There you go. And what would the 5 be?
D sharp.
Not D. It's not D sharp. All right, so let's do this. We'll break this down.
Oh, D. Yeah, I'm sorry, D.
Okay.
Yeah, I missed the fret.
So we got 1 G, 2 A, 3 B, 4 C, 5 D. Okay, so Old Joe Clark starts on the 5, and that would be a D. So everybody find your D, which is your B string on the 3rd fret. And then your next note is going to be an open E. And then your next note is that F. And then you're going to walk right back down. And you're going to walk down to a C. And so basically I'm playing a linear scale. I'm going up 3 notes and I'm coming right back down. So can everybody play through that? And we're doing all downstrokes because these are quarter notes. Now in bluegrass, alternate picking is really big. down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. And that's based on eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But we're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So and then we're going to do it again. And that is the first half of the first A part. Everybody getting that? So we'll do it one more time. D, E, F, E, D, C, B. Or if I break it down in numbers, 5, 6, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. Now the second half is almost the same. That's it. And then it goes over again. Now we're into our split bar. And we're always going to end on the root note of the key center, which is, in this case, it's G, because we're playing out of the key of G. So let's break down this first half again. And then the second part of that. Finishing off right where we started. And now we're going to do that again. And now we're into our split bar. We got a open B, open G, A, and then we're going to go up to that F, and then we're going to play that open G. Everybody doing good? All right, so let's play through this nice and slow. I'll try to get my fingers in here so you can see. Remember, we're playing all downstrokes right now, and it's going to make sense why we're playing downstrokes, because I'm going to show you a little later how we can add additional notes in here. So we're going to start again from here, and we'll just go nice and slow. Open C, open B, open G. Everybody got that? So an easy way, once you get this melody down, and you can do this with any melody that you play. Once you get this melody down, you can start adding to that, and we're just going to work on just the A part right now. We'll put the B part in here in just a minute. So you can add to that. Now I've gone to eighth notes, and all I'm doing is I'm just adding notes above and below as I play. And you can do this any way you want, as long as you're using the notes in the scale. We're not gonna add any blue notes or any flat thirds or any strange notes. We're just gonna stick right to using the notes of the scale. There's a little lead up to the starting note. Now I'm just adding a bunch of notes to it, making it a little more intricate or a little more difficult, but you can do it any way you want. There's a different way to play it. Any kind of variation you want to add that. Get the melody in your head, get the melody under your fingers, and then start adding to it. So let's go through this. You play. I'm gonna play. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna play the rhythm, and I want you to experiment playing through the melody of Old Joe Clark. A lot of weird notes in there. So I'm going to play the rhythm, and I'm going to try to play it right around 50 beats a minute. So it'll be nice and slow, and I want you to try to follow the chords that I'm playing. We're only going to do the A part, and we'll go through it twice. I'm only going to play the A part, and I want you to play a rhythm to it, or a melody to it, staying within the confines of where we're at there. You could play the simple melody that we learned. You can try to add a few notes to it. Remember, if you're adding an and on there, you got to play it with an upstroke. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3. You see what I'm doing there? I'm playing with some upstrokes. So here we go. I'm going to play some rhythm for you. All right, so there's two times through the A part in the at about 50 beats a minute. So is there a question in there? Or is that the old question from earlier? No, that's the one. All right, so any questions on this A part? Everybody kind of getting a grasp on the way that works?
Hey, Danny,
Yeah,
can I ask you a question about the Mixolydian?
absolutely.
Some of us think in scales and
Yep.
some of us think in chord shapes. So please correct me if I'm not thinking about this right, but in the key of G, which this song is in,
Yep.
that Mixolydian scale, that note we're really using is the F,
Correct.
which isn't in the G scale.
Correct.
But if I'm thinking in terms of chords, that's my G7 chord that's emphasizing the F note. And this chord progression in the key of G, normally the key of G doesn't have an F in it.
No, it would have an F sharp diminished. If you're using a chord scale, it would be an F sharp diminished chord.
Right. And so what that Mixolydian scale allows you to do is emphasize what would be a G7, or that F sharp note really, and the F chord, or excuse me, not F sharp, F, and the F chord that appears in the chord progression. So that's kind of how I think about it. I was thinking about, I love how you said it in terms of, think about it in a C scale, because in the C scale, there's no sharps or flats, and we got rid of that F sharp, basically.
Correct.
But I was kind of thinking of the G chord and the G7 chord, and what makes that a G7 chord is that F note, and that's the note we want.
Right. So the G7 chord, what we're talking, I understand where you're at here, where that G7 chord is just, it's more of a leading tone. That 7 leads you to the 4 chord. So that G7 will lead you to the C chord. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yep.
And so when we talk, if we're going to talk about a chord scale, when we deal with the scale, you're going to have a G, then you're going to have then the next chord would be an A minor, and then the next chord would be a B minor, and then the next chord would be a C, and then that's the 4 chord, and the next chord would be a D, that's the 5 chord, and then the 6 chord would be an E minor, and then the 7 chord would be an F sharp diminished. This is just in the G chord scale. What we're doing is we're taking that F sharp diminished and we're making it an F natural. And that's what brings the Mixolydian mode into this. And so that mode, I don't know a lot of the other modes. I know Dorian is a little bit, Dorian would be kind of a, would be the D scale. Correct me if I'm right, Dan, if I'm wrong, Dan. The D scale played out of the G position would be what would be called Dorian. Is that accurate, Dan? So what this mode does is it changes the sound of the scale. So that do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do becomes a do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. That T becomes something different. And that's what makes it a modal scale. I don't know if that really answers the question.
Yeah, no, I think you did. I just kind of was taking a chord approach to it and thinking of a G7 chord, which is now an F note, versus when you're making the G chord, that F note doesn't appear in there unless you're making it a G7. And so you really want, for the melody where you're doing that, you really want that F note in this chord progression, and it kind of matches that it's got an F chord in it as well.
Right.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying there. Yep. So that F chord is really important in this. That gives it that modal sound, if that makes sense.
And it goes to what you said earlier. We've talked about in our toolkit about how music is emotion, and that 7th note in any scale is kind of one that your ears perk up at.
Right.
And so obviously, when they were writing this song, and that's what the modes do. They emphasize 1, 2, or different notes within that scale to give it a feel or just a different sound. So
Right. Yep. And that's the thing with the 5. In this song starts in the 5, and you can flatten that 5 to give it a little different sound. So if I was to do something like this, see that flat 5 there? It just gives me a little bit different sound. It's absolutely usable. There's 3 notes that you can use in your scale to, the flat 3rd gives it a bluesy sound. The flat 5, it's right along that bluesy sound. And the flat 7 gives it more of a modal or a minor-y sound. That 7 there in the G scale, that F sharp, what we're doing is we're flattening that F sharp. And so that's what makes it that minor modal sound. So in your G run, I'm adding a flat 3rd in there, and that's giving me a bluesy sound. So when it just gives me that bluesy sound. So we're taking that 7 and we're flattening it to give it that modal sound, or that kind of that minor sound. So I hope that answers the question.
Just to let you know, Danny, the Dorian is the 2nd degree. A D is a Dorian mode. It's a minor mode, and it's the flattened 3rd.
Flattened 3rd. Okay, Dorian is the flatted 3rd. Got it. That right there.
I had to take a minute.
I appreciate it, Dan. Okay, so any questions on the first or the A part melody of Old Joe Clark? Does anybody feel confident demonstrating their melody of Old Joe Clark for that A part just one time through? If you do, click on your mic and play away.
Could you go over it one more time for us, Danny? I got the first part, but then the second part where you go up, you go down, you go up the strings, up the neck, but to lower strings. I didn't get that part.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I got the first part where you end up on, you do the little thing starting with the D, ending with the B, and then D, and ending with the D. And then you went to the lower notes, and I didn't get all that.
Yeah, okay, so let's so that second time through, that's where we end that half part, and then we go to the split bar. We got an open B, an open G, an A, and then that's where we're going to go find that F note there, and then we're going to end on that open G. And so we talked earlier about adding notes. You can also add some drone slides when you get to that see, all I'm doing is I'm just taking that F and I'm sliding it up to a G, which is the same as my open G. While I set up to come back in. And see, I just changed up exactly everything that I did, just a little bit. But I didn't change was the notes that I used of the scale. I just changed, just give it a little bit of variation. And that's the great thing about when you learn to flat pick. One good thing that I really like to encourage everybody to do if they want to learn to flat pick, you've got songs that you know. You know Happy Birthday. You know Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. You know Go Tell Aunt Rhody. You know Michael Row Your Boat Ashore. When the Saints Go Marching. Any of those songs that you just absolutely know the melody to, you can take that and you can play it in whatever scale you're learning, whether it be the G scale, the D scale, the C scale, and you can play that song in that scale and then get it under your fingers and then try to make some variations to it, just like we're doing with Old Joe Clark. So Old Joe Clark is just a simple tune. And we're just adding some notes to it that we can. I'm gonna mute whoever this is. There we go. All right. So, any questions on that? All right. So let's talk about the B part. So the B part, it has this F note in it. So so I'm starting off with that G 2 times, and then I'm back up there on my D, my 5, my 4, and then my 3, or G, G, D, C, B. That's that first part. Fare thee well, Old Joe Clark, fare thee well, I say. Fare thee well, Old Joe Clark. And then you're right back to what you did at the end of the A part. Or a nice simple way to do it. So the only thing that changes in the B part is that first half, because remember, the second part of the B part and the second half of the A part are exactly the same. So when we play that first half of the B part, the only thing that's different is the part that's the beginning and then the part that goes to the F chord. If you remember, that line right there is in both the A and the B part. I'm using that line over and over again. So when you go to that B, when you're getting into the B part, you're adding a few notes at the beginning, you're playing what you've already played, and then you're adding a few more notes that are a little different, and then you're right back to what you were playing again. So let's do this B part again. I'll go nice and slow with you. G, G, D, C, B, G, G, F, G, G, B, or D, C, B, and then you got that ending part that we did. G, or G, B, A, F, G. So that's just your simple version of it. You're playing the exact same thing you did in the A part at the end, and now you're playing that one more time over again. So anybody have any questions on this B part of Old Joe Clark? All right, so let's play it together one time, and I'm going to play just the basic version that we've been working on. One more time. All right, so I'm going to play the rhythm of the B part, and I want you to play what we just worked on, and I'll do this again about 50 beats a minute. And here we go. All right. How'd everybody do on that? Any questions on this B part? So like we did with the A part, I showed you how you can take some of these and add additional notes within the scale. We can use slides. So when we got this open G, we can go. Or I'm just using my scale. I'm adding a few more notes, but now instead of playing quarter notes, I'm playing eighth notes, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I'm playing, instead of 4 notes per measure, I'm playing 8 notes per measure. So Now all I'm doing is just going up a step. Does that make sense to everybody? You see what you can do here just using your scale, just using the notes that are in this song. You're not adding anything new to this melody. You're just using the melody. You're just adding additional notes within that scale to spice it up a little bit. Does that make sense? So does anybody feel comfortable playing their B part? I'm not sure who played. It might have been Tom that played through the A part. Anybody feel comfortable playing through the B part? Unmute your mic and give us a listen. Dan? Paul? Nobody, huh?
I'll probably play it wrong, but
That's all right.
let's see.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to, and I'm not, don't take this wrong, Dan, but this is something that I do all the time. When I'm learning something, and for me, this is the worst thing I do, is I always try to play real fast, and because it's so hard to play slow. I want to hear. Nice and slow.
Yeah. I'm a guitar player.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah, no, that's really good. Just spicing it up. Okay, so we know that we could play this scale anywhere on the neck. So if we were going to take this and we wanted to play this in a lower octave, because if all you're doing is what if we wanted to play it lower? What do we need to know? Can anybody tell me what is the one thing that I need to know to be able to play this in a different octave?
Where your next D is, your lower D.
That's right. You just need to find a D, because you know that this starts on the 5 of the scale, the 5th note of the scale, which is a D. I need to find a D. So where do I got a D? I got an open D. Now I'm playing it. The only thing you can't really do in this octave is play that B part, because the B part goes lower than this F, right? So I could get close to it, but I couldn't do any of the like the slide. I couldn't do my slide back to my G. So you can play that anywhere. You can find a D up the neck. Let's see. I got there's a D right there. Then I would just have to figure it. That's a C. That's a D right there. No, that's not a D. There it is. I'm playing it in up the neck a little bit. I could find another D, anywhere you want to play it. And I challenge you, this is the best way to learn your fingerboard, is you find that melody somewhere else on the neck. And it's good practice if you're working on whatever song you're working on, to practice that, to try to find it somewhere else on your guitar neck. Find your Ds. You got a D here. You got a D here. You got an open D, and you go down 2 and up 3, 4, up 4. So find your Ds and play that song somewhere else. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to play through the A part and the B part. I'm going to play through each one 2 times, and I want you to play the melody. Try to add some flair to it if you feel comfortable doing that. I'll play through it. I'm gonna go up a little bit faster. I'm gonna go to about 60 beats a minute, and we'll see how this comes out. All right, here we go. Here we go. Second time. B part. All right. So how did everybody feel about that? Did you feel like you could get through that? Was it a little too fast? Was it a little too slow? Anybody got any comments?
Too fast for me, Danny.
Okay, let's slow this back down and let's do this again at about 50 beats a minute. Here we go. And here we go. Second time through. B part. Fare thee well. Last time through. All right. So how does everybody feel about playing through that? Are we ready for 150 beats a minute? So the thing about Old Joe Clark, this is a really great song for practicing speed, and I'll do that. I'll do that sometimes. I'll put on my. I don't know if you've ever heard of Strum Machine. There's a program out there. It's really big for bluegrass players. It's called Strum Machine, and it has thousands, literally thousands of songs laid out with bass, guitar, and mandolin backing tracks, and they're all hand recorded by the guy that made it, and I'll put that on, and I'll put that on 120 beats a minute, and I'll try to play with just quarter notes. And just to try to get as fast as I can, because in a jam, that song is going to be played upwards of 120 to 140. And it's insane how fast it is. And you got guys that are just playing, it blows my mind every time I sit in a jam with people. But there's nothing wrong with taking a basic song and using that to increase your speed, using that to try to figure out ways to play within the constraints of the scale to enhance the melody. And I encourage you to do that. I encourage you to take this song, go onto YouTube, listen to some other versions of it. Now, keep in mind that whatever you listen to on YouTube, most of it is going to be in the key of A. So they're going to play it with a capo at the second fret. And if you want to play along with it, YouTube has a really great feature where you can slow stuff down. And you click on the little gear, slow it down, and play right along with them. Listen to Doc Watson. Doc Watson does some really cool stuff with it. He does some really cool stuff with the rhythm as well. So with the rhythm, I didn't really cover it a lot, but I'm gonna cover it a little bit here real quick before I think we're just about done, right, Dan? So I'm gonna give you just real quick a breakdown of some of the things that I was doing on the rhythm of Old Joe Clark. So when you're playing a rhythm to a song, especially using the boom strum, you can do what we call walks. And all I'm doing is I'm using the scale to get to my next chord. And so in the key, going from G to a D, I'm normally going to think 2 notes to get to my D. There's my D right there. 1, 2, D. And all I'm doing there is I'm just taking my F sharp and I'm just hammering on to that G. And there I went 1 beat early and added a third note. And it's just a chromatic walk from to my D. And so walk-up's a really, really good way to add a little bit of what do you say? Add a little bit of spice to your rhythm. Yeah. It just gives you a little bit more to make that rhythm either a little more fun, a little more interesting. And I was listening to Doc Watson this morning. There's a video. It's just the music of him and his son Merle Watson on YouTube playing through Old Joe Clark. And Doc had this really cool. He just walked up the whole time. And there's so much that you can add to it just using your scale to add a little more interest to whatever song you're playing. So I'm going to thank you guys, everybody, for coming on here. I really appreciate you taking your time out of your Saturday to listen to me ramble on. And if you're really interested in bluegrass, I would love it if you could maybe in the comments section of the event that Dan put up, maybe something that you would like to see, because I would really enjoy bringing some bluegrass into Guitar for Vets, and we could do some singing songs. I can show you how to play through some singing songs. We could do other fiddle tunes. We can work on bluegrass rhythm, some practice techniques for bluegrass and flat picking. I would love to do whatever.
Hey, Danny.
Yes.
Appreciate your talent. Appreciate you sharing all of your skills. I had a question for you. Some of us are familiar with the country genre. A lot of us are familiar with the rock genre. What makes this song bluegrass? Like, what are the elements that make this a bluegrass song?
So for Old Joe Clark is really an old time song, and it's an oral tradition type song. Nobody really knows where it started. It could have been a real person. It could have been just kind of a story of a person. But what makes bluegrass? I guess there's a couple things that from my perspective that makes something bluegrass. There's the sound. In bluegrass, there's that high lonesome sound. Your 3-part harmonies, the tenor with that high voice, speed. A lot of these songs are played fast, and that's because the banjo just brings that energy to it, and the fiddle as well. But I think that what makes this song bluegrass would be just the tradition of where it was played and being played on the front porch in Appalachia, in the mountains of the Appalachians. So I don't know if that answered your question, Paul.
Yeah. Hey, before people sign off, I want to let you know we got some upcoming live events scheduled. February is going to be a great month for us. The Guitar Shop's coming back on February 14th. Happy Valentine's Day. That's going to be 2 p.m. Eastern Time. The Guitar Brigade is 4 days later, February 18th at 8:30. We'll create live events in the community for all of these, so you don't have to take notes. But so Guitar Shop on the 14th of February at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Guitar Brigade 18th, 8:30 Eastern Time. Guitar Bench is 3 days later, February 21st at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. That'd be a Saturday. And then February 27th, mark your calendar. We're going to start something different called Guitar Office Hours, where we're going to have a few of us. Think about it like your guidance counselors in high school, where you would drop in on your guidance counselor if you needed any advice on what classes to take, what classes not to take, how close am I to graduating. The idea of Guitar Office Hours is we're not necessarily going to have lessons formally prepared, but we want to certainly invite anyone with any sort of guitar issue, gear issue, questions about CAVARTS, how do I sign up for the lesson? So really anything about our G4V space is what we're thinking of. You could show something to us, you could demo something to us, you could ask us a question. So we're going to start that on the February 27th, and we'll try it in March and April as well, and just see what kind of response we get, and then decide if we're going to keep going after that. Yeah. One other thing I want to tell you, Danny introduced us to the boom chuck, which is it's a great strum pattern in a couple different ways. One, it's used a lot. Two, it's a really nice way to start taking your pick and trying to hit an individual string and strum while keeping time. So it starts to feel like you're juggling a few more plates. But in CAVARTS, we have a module called ISAP, which is I Sing and Play. Module 4 is about strumming patterns, and we walk you through 4 strumming patterns, and the 4th one is the boom chuck, and it's a Tony Policastro video, and he does a really good job of teaching just that boom chuck strum pattern on the Beatles' I've Just Seen a Face.
And that's an
So
iPad.
don't forget, I'm always looking to push you towards some of the content we already have developed as it relates. Obviously, there's a lot of material in the Guitar Player's Toolkit all around chords in a family, chords in a key. We don't have that on modes yet, so maybe we'll park that. But I know the G scale is also an iTag, so there's a lot of material there for you as well. Daniel B., are we missing anything?
But I think, is anybody got any questions? We can entertain questions now. Or
J-Mock wants to know what the website is that Danny had mentioned.
Oh, Danny Smith. Yeah, Danny Smith Music on YouTube. Oh, that's his. What was the other one then, Dan, that you were talking about for the backing tracks?
Oh, Strum Machine is what I use. It's an app, and I think I pay $49 a year for it. It's very affordable, and for me it's an invaluable practice tool. And it's not for everybody. It is strictly bluegrass oriented, and there are the options to be able to. You can add in your own songs, but it's always going to have a bluegrass feel because that's the way the instruments are recorded. But they're live instruments, they're real instruments. It's not a MIDI type program. They're real instruments, but they're broken down. And just if anybody's interested, I'll show you what it looks like. So here is old Joe Clark. This is what the song looks like in the app, and it shows you the chords. It's a phone app. It's also a computer app, and I got to turn off my Bluetooth because I got my hearing aids in, but I'll let you just to get an idea of what this thing sounds like. And
I'm going to post Danny's notes from today under the section we've developed in modules and more. So if anybody's looking for just a little, you can track what you're doing using those notes that Danny devised for this show.
So this would be old Joe Clark in D. I got it. I got to change the settings here a little bit. For some reason I got the guitar turned down, turned way down. But that's kind of how I use it. Here's another song. And just kind of, I would play along to this, and that's how I practice every day when I'm learning the song. And I'll sing and play, and then it continues to play in time while I try to work out a solo, whatever the situation would be. This is playing for me, and the good thing about this is it keeps time. If you mess up, you got to get back in just like you would in a real jam situation. And if anybody's interested, please make a comment in the event underneath, that's posted on CAVARTS, something that you would like me to make a video and put it on the YouTube channel. I will absolutely do that. If you want to learn a song or a certain technique in bluegrass, bluegrass or country, that's where I'm at. If you asked me to show you some Metallica, I probably couldn't do very much with that. But if you want to learn something bluegrass or country oriented, I have no problem sharing that with you and making a video specifically for you.
Hey, Danny.
Yes.
Dueling banjos. That considered bluegrass?
I guess that would be considered bluegrass, Appalachian.
That I just gave you my whole library of bluegrass.
That's such a stereotype, Paul.
I know. I'm sorry.
I'll tell you what I think is the best part about bluegrass and country music is it's the simplicity, yet it does have its complexities. But it's easy enough to get started on, and
Yes.
you can embellish from there. And that's really, bluegrass helped me to learn how to play lead as I was going when I was a young lad. So, and I enjoy bluegrass. It's just a really fun stuff to play.
It's a lot of fun to play with a group of friends.
Most definitely.
And if we want to start getting deeper into bluegrass on our own, obviously learning like the boom chuck strum would be a pretty solid piece of advice. Maybe refreshing up on the notes in our scales and the scale runs.
Yeah, the G run. Or licks. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there. Dust in a baggie. I ain't slept in 7 days, haven't ate in 3. Yeah, that's probably that's kind of a drug song.
Thank you. Thank you for keeping an eye on us. That's why he wants to be anonymous. He's giving us the drug songs.
That one is real.
Of course, before that, we had the song where you're trying to sell your soul to the devil. I don't know if that's much better. So
There's that. Well, you know, the thing about bluegrass, and I find it funny that they're very, very, the vocal songs, especially the older traditional songs, are very gruesome songs. Knoxville Girl, or the Banks of the Ohio. I asked my love to take a walk, just to walk a little way. And as we walk, we would talk all about our wedding day. And anyways, he walks her down to the river, and then she says she couldn't marry him, and he hit her over the head and threw her in the river and watched her drown. And
Good old-fashioned family values.
good old-fashioned family values.
you're saying bluegrass is a lot like the blues. They just forgot to be sad about it.
Exactly. That is right there.
Well, I appreciate your time again. Any other questions before we call it?
Well, thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks for giving up your time. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Great lesson. That was a lot of fun.
This is Bluegrass. Guitar for Vets is a 501c3 non-for-profit dedicated to providing relief to struggling veterans through the healing power of music and community. Since 2007, Guitar for Vets has served at-risk United States veterans impacted by PTSD and other service-related trauma. Through our unique 10-week structured guitar instruction program, putting the healing power of music in the hands of our nation's heroes, helping to foster renewal, connection, and community. On behalf of Danny, Paul Lilly, Guitar for Vets, and myself, be well and keep on strumming.